Most recently, of course, it's hard to imagine a bigger impact than the Innovation Grant Initiative that English Australia was able to facilitate through the Department of Education, which, turned the nightmare of the COVID border closures from that bunker down, grit your teeth siege mentality into a time to expand and innovate and transform. That would never have happened without Brett Blacker and without English Australia, facilitating that.
Enabling the exchange of ideas, experiences and strategies through just-in-time workshops, webinars and special interest group catch-ups. And of course, the amazing annual English Australia conferences did not stop and were creatively transformed into online events, open to all to ensure equal opportunities for those in the sector to maintain their professionalism and provide valuable networking opportunities.
Thinking about the most significant impact English Australia has had on the ELICOS sector takes me back to my first encounter with what was then the ELICOS Association in its initial configuration in 1989, in the middle of the so-called China crisis, when the Tiananmen Square protests and massacre led to Chinese students being unable to obtain student visas to come to Australia to study English for a period of time. It was a very difficult time for students in China, but also in Australia, where many students, not just Chinese, went through the traumatic experience of their ELICOS centres going out of business, and for staff, some of whom lost their jobs, including friends of mine. The ELICOS Association Student Placement Scheme, as it was at the time, meant students already in Australia could find new colleges to study at, and was a precursor to the Tuition Assurance Scheme, protecting the fees that students paid in advance for their studies.
I believe that the Pan-European Agent Visits, or as they were called then, PEV, were the most significant development in the sector while I was principal of a language school in Sydney. The Pan-European Agent Visits occurred in the 90s and involved agents from a variety of European countries, but not including Switzerland, because at that time, most of the students coming to study at private English language colleges were from Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, Brazil. There were a few students coming from Switzerland. And there were 6 PEAVs in total. They lasted a few days, and a load of schools were involved in all the major cities. And these agents were all people who were sending students already to the United Kingdom, to the United States, and to a lesser extent to Canada, but hadn't sent any to Australia, but were interested in doing so.
By offering continuing professional development opportunities, workshops, special interest groups, and support for events like the Queensland PD Fest, English Australia has facilitated the ongoing skills development, professionalism, and camaraderie of English language teachers in Australia. And that is not to mention the English Australia Journal, which started as a newsletter and has evolved into a respected industry standard for practical language teaching journals. And of course, there's the English Australia National Conference, which, in my opinion, ranks among the premier language teacher conferences worldwide.
I could see that there's now a really broad range of professional development strategies and programs and sources for those working in the ELICOS sector, which I think are extremely important. And among these are the annual conference, of course, regular state-based professional development days, webinar presentations, special interest groups, and opportunities to participate in the Action Research Programme, which I've had the privilege to be involved in for the last 13 years.